Okay, welcome everyone to our webinar, our fourth webinar this year, Next Generation of Learning, interactive video specifically. Yeah, we've got Ryan's coming in, we've got Amy, thanks for coming early, Amy, Harsh, Saraj. And just to kind of give a little bit of context for this webinar, we wanted it to be more of an open roundtable-like discussion. So in previous webinars, we would just have like a chat and you would submit your message and we would then discuss it among panelists. For this webinar and the Q&A section, we actually want you to participate in the discussion and, you know, turn on your camera, or if you're not comfortable just turning on your camera, turn on your mic and actually participate in the discussion. We just ask that you raise your hand or you send us a message in the chat saying, hey, I'd like to ask a question. And then Chris will then prompt you to ask a question. And then we can have a much more open, interactive discussion at the end. So that's how it's going to be a little bit different today. So I'll just introduce everyone as I normally do at the beginning of the webinar. So we've got number one, Kushal Bose, who is the CEO and founder of Teledec. He is a professional filmmaker and nuclear engineer and has been telling engineering and technical stories for the last 3 decades. He's committed to the deep learning philosophy and was awarded one of the top 100 global innovators in L&D in 2021. We then have Mike Lin as well, who's one of our panelists today. He's a learning advisor, writer, and management consultant based out of Chicago. Mike adds tremendous value and experience to the conversation as a learning strategist and catalyst for learning and emerging technologies. And Chris, who I've mentioned, who's going to be in the background. Chris brings years of experience as a marketing and sales executive in many international organizations, and he will be managing the questions on this webinar. So I'd like to now pass the torch to Kushal, who will start with his presentation.
All right, let me share the screen. Okay.
Okay, Kushal. Yes, you have permission. You can share.
Okay. Okay. Just let me. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep. Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Let me get started with a little animation that I always start my webinars with. It's like 10 seconds, maybe 20 seconds, but it tells a great deal about Teledec and our company. All right, today's topic, future of learning, and introducing a new look at interactive video and the science behind it. We all have some knowledge about what interactive video is all about, but I'm going to be looking at it a little deeper based on the science that we are looking at today. Why are we here? I believe that the L&D world is facing incredibly complex business, economic, and social challenges. And at the same time, technology, tools, and workforce learning is undergoing monumental changes. So having a learning strategy is absolutely critical in today's L&D, all L&D departments. It's more important than any other time to figure out what value L&D is adding to your organization. And this session is hopefully going to give you some tools to really estimate your value of your department in your organization. So we hope to use our practical experience and share with you a relatively new, cost-effective option to make interactive video a part of your learning strategy for 2024 or beyond. And I say this new only because new changes every day is affecting the distribution and delivery of video. And that's what I will talk about today. As we all know, learning effectiveness usually comes from three factors. There's storytelling, engagement, and analytics. Let me go into a little bit details. In our last webinar, we talked about how to put stories at the heart of your learning content and drive the learning objectives with stories, with the hooks in the story. However, last webinar, we talked about a linear storytelling, but today we're going to be talking about a non-linear storytelling, and there's a reason why. The linear storytelling, as you know, is pretty, as the name suggests, is linear. It goes from point A to point B to a linear process, and you watch the video. But in a non-linear presentation, the learner interacts with the screen itself. There are hooks and there are hotspots, there are objects. There are many things in the screen itself that allows the learner to choose his own learning path. And this is important because science has now exposed the mind in a much different way. And I'd like to start with the science for our presentation today, and to tell you a little bit about the recent discoveries on brain's learning process. There's new sense of learning reveals data on machine learning, education, neuroscience, and psychology. This is all new stuff that's coming about the way we learn. But today's presentation, I'm going to be focusing much on the neuroscience, what's happening in the brain. One of the world's topmost authorities on examination of how brain works when we are learning, his name is Dr. Stanislas Dehaene. He's an authoritative figure in the science of learning, and his research centers around cognitive neuroscience, and he also emphasizes the three factors that we have always followed: is storytelling, engagement, analytics. Let's go a little deeper. As you know, deep learning is where we get it. And what is deep learning? And deep learning is something that stays in your memory for a longer period of time than normal short-term memory is. And we're going to be talking about memory in a second, but we, the L&D professionals, through our intelligent design, storytelling, and engagement hooks within the presentation, we can implement deep learning, and interactive video is one such tool that we can really dig deeper into the brain of a learner, much more so. Here's how. Let's take a detour and talk a little bit about the brain itself. And this is all out of the research that we just talked about. First of all, memory has a lot to do with learning. Why? Because we need to recall what we have learned exactly at the right time, at the right moment. Think about a pilot flying a plane, or a nuclear plant operator, or a machine operator. He has to remember what to do, not only in the case of emergency, but in the regular operation as well. So memory has a lot to do with learning. It really, and that's when our brain really has to be explored to really understand how memory works in the brain. Senses like sight, smell, and sound are very short-term memory, and they roughly stay in our memory for about 3 seconds, and then the brain discards the information. The next is a short-term memory that stays up to 30 seconds. We usually can store up to 7 plus minus 2 pieces of information at the same time, but it also disappears very quickly. And especially so, if your attention wanders, information will be lost much more quickly. Then come the long-term memory. Long-term memory, there are two types of long-term memory: implicit memory and explicit memory. The long-term explicit memory is again broken down into two parts: scientific, semantic, and episodic. The implicit memory is like something that you have experienced in life, and then it stays with you forever. That's deep memory. That's deep learning, like bike riding or table tennis, or you never have to recall how to ride a bike every time you get on a bike. So that's an implicit memory. But explicit memory are two types: there's semantic and epidemic. The semantic memory actually is stores in a long-term reservoir facts and general knowledge. But episodic, things that have a time and a place is tied to some kind of an event, some kind of a time map. This is how the memory works. Based on that little knowledge about memory, let's see how the future of learning is being shaped by combining interactive learning and the brain imaging to improve performance and skills. Normally, the brain has billions of 85 billion neurons that transmit electrical pulses from one end of the brain to the other. A neuron is a messenger, and it's basically nerve impulses. But this is what a brain neuron network looks like. There's 10,000 other neurons leading to a large number of connections in the brain. So as soon as we are learning something, these neurons are really sending messages and pulses to different parts of the brain. And this is where the fun begins. This is all about neuroplastic and how the signals work within the brain. And there are strong pathways and weak pathways within the brain. And these are all being sent by the neurons. Now, as the connection is established, interaction, engagement, and all kinds of personal involvement with the story or for the learning makes this pathway stronger and stronger and stronger. That's how you accomplish deep learning and stays in the long-term memory. While weak pathways, like exam-based learning, at the end of the course, you take a quiz, and you pass the quiz, and you are handed over papers of completion certification. Then and as you walk out of the classroom, 70% of what you just learned is washed away. And that's not the way the future sees learning. The future of learning is embedded in the vision that we can accomplish deep learning due to our exciting new research on the brain images and also a new technology. Let's look at some of these things. But we also must remember that learning doesn't happen only by showing PowerPoint slides or watching a video. There are other things involved when you, it's not a planned exercise always. It occurs as a byproduct of another activity, as we talked about. It's something that you personalize, something that you internalize, something that happens in your past memory, and you learn something, an experience, a past observation, or personalization, interaction, engagement. And this is where instructional designers and developers come into play, leveraging brain's neuron activity and creating interactive learning where the brain forges new neural pathways and circuits, pursuing old ones, and pruning the old ones as needed. This is really the science of learning. Now, based on that, let's look into the future of learning, how technology and learning is being shaped in the future based on these facts. There are 4 emerging technologies in learning that's coming up as we speak. Number 1 is mobile. Mobile learning is becoming very, very important because that's what people makes in a part. A large part of our day, of our life is spent on mobile. and people want to learn from the mobile. It's really drastically improves the learning method and accessibility anytime, anywhere. The second is VR and AR and mixed reality. That immersive learning is also taking main stage. Many companies that embracing mixed reality that I know of, and we are very deeply involved in the mixed reality game. The third thing is advanced analytics. Big data and unbelievably detailed data we can collect from the learner's activity, his interaction, his brain scans. It's unbelievable amount of data that we can get from each learner and prune and personalize the training according to personal needs. And finally, artificial intelligence. That's still coming, but that's also being a big part of new learning. And I have one of my friends, Emiliano, in the audience today. I would like to invite Emiliano to talk about artificial intelligence and what he is doing in that field at some other webinar in the future. But for now, let's look at these 4 technologies that's emerging in our vision today. But out of all these things, there's one golden thread, that is personalization. For example, when you log into new way of learning, it says to you, hello, Thomas, hello, Jenny, or hello, Susan. The learning management system has already taken all your past learning profiles and presented to you what a learning is totally profiled for you. So the personalization works best with interactive video, which is the reason why I picked interactive video as one of our conversation in this webinar, because it's a simple solution, easy solution, and most importantly, it's a cost-effective solution for learner engagement. All other VR, AR, MR, artificial intelligence, and other systems are all immersive, all engaging, but they cost a lot more at this point in time. So I want to explain to you why I feel interactive video is easy and cost-effective. In an interactive video, there's no expensive equipment that you need. You work with your own normal computers with new age software, no enterprise platform, no major infrastructure, and no major investment required at today. But maybe tomorrow it'll be different, but today this offers the best alternative to engaging a learner into your content. Basically, an interactive video is an opportunity for a learner to choose their own adventures. Imagine if you could create an interactive training for employees or simulation training where decisions really matter. Like I said about the pilot flying a plane. There's a thunderstorm, there's a lightning, there's an engine malfunction, gasoline is leaking from the tank, whatever. As you have faced with, in an interactive video, you can create those scenarios and the learner will have to react to that scenario, how he's going to deal with it. So we can track his decision-making skills, patterns of his learning intakes, his strengths, weaknesses, and most importantly, his areas that we can improve. That's what interactive video does. For example, in this cartoon, if you have to choose between X and Y, you take one path and you become a pauper, and you take another one, you become a millionaire. So imagine what that would do to your training in your organization. So I really have a blog, actually white paper in our website, Roadmap to Multimedia Storytelling. You might want to grab that if you are more interested to learn about it. It's available in our site, teledic.com, and you can definitely learn a lot more about multimedia storytelling in that blog. But basically, interactive video is all about choices and consequences. The challenge is presented in the learning. You select a choice, and you face the consequences. What could be the consequences? That's what this learning is all about. So these different consequences require branching of the scenarios. So we, the instructional designers, they have to create a storyline that offers branching of the scenario. What happens here? What happens here? For example, in a branching video, somebody may have discovered something, and then you have to make a choice. And the video will say that the learner now creates his own narrative. Does he go for the help? Does he go for the control room? It's a very simple choice. For a healthcare video, interactive video, the branching video combines different video clips. Is he responding? Yes or no? If he is yes, then you have one path. If he's not, another path. These are the simple examples. You know, this is my area of expertise, turbines. This is what I did in my engineering, and this is what I did for a living for nuclear power plants. And at that time, for everything that we detected in the turbine blades or rotors or any deformities, we had to go to a three-ring binder, like 3-inch tall, and find the right information. What do I do with this solution? So in a branching video, when everything is on a mobile, can be on a mobile, you can quickly, look up the exact video, exact solution to my problem when I'm faced with one. So interactive videos on cell phones are a great boon to the workforce today. So summarizing, the interactive video typical applications are as follows. In e-commerce, and I'll give you examples of all of these. In e-commerce ads, product demo or explainer video, recruitment on onboarding, and educational videos. Let's take a look at some of these samples. Some of these samples, in all cases, videos tell a story. And whether you're introducing a product or create an immersive experience, here's an example. For an e-commerce shopping, this is a video running, this guy is sitting, putting on his shoes, you got a jacket, very stylish trousers. So everything you can make it hotspot, and you can click on the shoes and get the detailed description of the shoes and actually go to buy it right now. It's a very heavily used in a lot of marketing efforts right now. The second is clickable timeline. We can very easily put timelines, hotspots, and quiz, and outbound links to anywhere in the like in a YouTube video. You can actually make it interactive by putting links and hotspots and quiz, and that's also being very heavily used in interactive videos today. And this is also something that's heavily used today, a dynamic content. The top half, the light blue, is all the content appearing in your mobile, depending on your profile and personalities. And the bottom dark blue is where it's coming from. The DAM is the digital asset management software, then API, flexible. They're all connected to your platform, shooting you dynamic content on a regular basis. This is what's happening today in a lot of videos. And also other thing is content form. You can actually see a lot of the forms come up whenever you're browsing the website. You can get it filled on the form or information or learning. This is all interaction that's happening. And as I explained to you earlier, the branching is also a very big part of today's learning. Do I accept his objections, or do I negotiate the objectives? So, and then the latest example of streaming video, and you can not only stream your interactive video globally all across the network, but also you can import something that's happening elsewhere in the world, and that you can import into. So those are examples of how interactive video is used in the market today. Now, let us really quickly identify what are the benefits, summarize it in the benefit. Number one is engagement. As we have known, a personal connection between the content and the learner. The second is the discovery, the personal journey that the learner is taking. It's almost like a 360 degrees of perspective of any situation. which you can never do in a regular video. You can really present alternate situation, different scenarios, role-based learning, and the different people react to it different way and different way that they consume the learning. This is also a great deal of benefit from interactive video. And then the immersiveness of that, when you are actually participating in the learning journey, you are immersed, you are hooked. So you have no way to really escape the story that you are involved in. And if you're not careful, you're going to learn something. So, and the next benefit is adaptation. The hardware and the software is so versatile and so adaptive, and the mobile and your desktop, anywhere, anytime, you can actually consume the learning at any time. This is a great advantage. And of course, the tracking, as I mentioned before, that all of this can be tracked in today's interactive learning platforms. And when you learn something in a very short time, something that helps you with your, let's say you're changing a spark plug in your car and you don't know exactly how to do that, you can quickly, with your engine hood open, go to a website, and I've done this many times. You look at it, and then you immediately be able to do it in a quick, oh, I see, aha moment that you get. And then that gives you satisfaction, and that makes you more curious and engaged into and use it more. And finally, this is my favorite, is micro learning. I don't want to watch a long video. I want to exactly know where is the screw located in my engine compartment that will help take me battery out of the engine compartment. So to do that, I search it and find the micro learning, and then it's very short, very granular, very relevant, just in time, and it's a totally friendly way of learning. These are all benefits of the interactive video. Now, how is interactive video being used in the next generation? The company out of Kuwait, Lu. As you know, most of our learning for adults come from experiments that we have done with children in school, in libraries, in our personal lives, lots of games, lots of learning activities, even video came from children's exercises. VR, for example, totally came from a gaming platform. So interactive video is also gaining traction in a children's learning. So this is an example of Lu's situation. They're combining learning with physical exercise. So, and you can see that at the top, there is a projection system going on. It is more than a projection system. It actually has three things. It has the projection system, and here's the list of everything that Lu offers in this package that makes this interactive video come alive in a PlayStation, in a playroom. A high definition a video giant projection screen, 12 feet by 19 feet, and a movement detection. So each one of them there's a detection system, like a security camera is recorded, and that's tied to their answers and whatever answer they're giving. So problems and challenges occur in this large video, and these kids have to go and solve the problem or throw a ball or point out laser pointer. What they interact with the video projection, and all of this is recorded and analyzed in the back end. And there are a large 2400 watt speaker system to make it really fun, and a microphone and a headset for each of the students, and the computer that has device mirroring capability. So this entire package is being sold by Lu to a lot of different schools, with their combining physical exercise with learning activity. It is really a great innovative way. That's where the interactive video is going. So here are my final thoughts based on all this that we talked about. We know that we are faced with unlimited amount of choices between all these technologies and the research and all of that. But we really have to make it applicable to my organization, to my L&D department. And how do we do that? In the coming years, all these technologies will have to have one goal, which is how do I make it successful in a specific learning environment? And that's where there are some suggestions of 6 strategies. First of all, less is more. What does it mean by that? don't make your learning too long. Make it short and simple and quickly accessible. And then every learning exercise and activity has to win the management support and the support from the top. The culture of learning has to completely, and it is our L&D professional responsibility to really make that culture supported by the management. Then amongst our teacher community, the instructor community, we have to have some leaders to really be brave enough to really do something different, not really doing the same thing over, same PowerPoint deck over and over. And I know many companies do that. The same decks are being used for the last 15 years, believe it or not. But there has to be some teachers in today's generation, they have to get out of that mode to try something different within the scope of the learning in that organization. And then most importantly, and I find this very interesting, and the interactive video support this, is the learner-centered design, rather than most of the content is really a copy and paste from the manual. I'd like to see the manual being personalized to the learner's profiles and who's learning and why they're learning. And then, and the number 5 is the learning partners. And it is not possible for every organization to have all of those talents, the story writing talent, the programming talent, the interactivity talent, to be completely in-house. So there are many people who are willing to partner with you to really give you that intellectual or technical expertise and knowledge to help you acquire the learning that really you need to get to. And then measure what matters. Now, what matters is how much they have learned, and what is the impact of the learning to your business. That's really what's critical. So I listed these 6 strategies as to something that you should be thinking about for your next line. So learning strategy is something that I feel needs to be addressed today. We are in the 4th quarter of 2022, and we have to redesign our thinking to make sure that we are contributing to the organization in a positive way. Why so? Because while attendance, certification, user satisfaction surveys, which is what the common practice today, are well and good, but they do not provide enough ammunition to you when the finance director calls you in his office and say that we got to have a budget cut and a headcount reduction. The only insulation to cuts in the future is to show the difference between how L&D team, your L&D team is making to your organization. That's what I'm really getting at. So your next steps, when times are tough, as all economists are predicting, as they're now, the digital learning approach can be created. The strategy can be around these rules that I just mentioned. The strategy that is more robust, more valued, and more important to your organization than ever before. As Teledec, we have been around for 35 years, and our mission has been one simple thing, is how to empower our clients for a new world of opening, to thinking of new possibilities of teaching and engaging the new learners. And with that in mind, here's a special offer to you. We'd like to offer something special for 2023 and beyond. We will be happy to help you develop your learning strategy at no charge, help you develop with no obligation, using our experience and our knowledge for the next 30 days. And here's a link that you will probably get in your email confirmation after the event. So that's really what I have to say. Now let's open it up to the. So let me stop sharing. So that's what it is. So.
Okay, thanks, Kushal. Thanks so much for such another very detailed, very comprehensive presentation. This is the application form that Kushal was talking to, and I'm just going to pop this in the chat now. So you will receive an email, but if you want to access it now, it's just in the chat for everyone. Okay, so let's open it up to the Q&A, which I have here ready. As I said at the beginning of the webinar, please feel free just to come, show your face, open your mic, and ask a question. However, what we'll do is we have a question here that we received before that we'll just start everything off with, and then Kushal and Mike can tackle it, and then we can try and get a discussion going. So question number one, of all the emerging technologies you mentioned, can you predict their market acceptance for corporate L&D?
Can I try to start the conversation and then let Mike finish it up? As I picked interactive video as to be the topic of our discussion today, because I feel that this is the most bang for your bucks for L&D. This is the lowest hanging fruits. You don't have to make major investments. All other emerging technologies like VR, AR, MR, artificial intelligence has a lot of infrastructural expenses to make. I think businesses in a hard times will try to reduce cost and not get into risky experiments with learning and development, and try to see how we can get the most bang for our buck. So in my view, interactive video is a natural extension of the video-based learning that can be delivered on mobiles, on multiple delivery platforms. And I think that, to me, immediately has the most potential for marketers, for learners, learning department, and also for technology companies that offering management consulting to many other companies. So that's really what my thought is. I'd like to know what Mike thinks about it.
Yeah, it's an interesting question to predict the future. But all the realities that Kushal listed, we know are happening right now. I'm thinking for myself, 2 years ago, or pre-pandemic, which is now more than 2 years ago, e-learning was out there, web-based learning was out there, video learning was out there, and I was still kind of skeptical. Would people really want to use that? And then the pandemic hit. I know what I have, and many of you, I'm sure, have been doing a lot of e-learning because people can choose the video that they want. They can, if you're doing it well, they can do interactive activities. It is kind of a choose your own adventure. It requires a minimal investment up front, but then it's out there. And then if you're a learning leader, you could have those things in perpetuity for people who need the same skills over time. So for me, predicting what will the market accept is going to be those things that address all those needs that Kushal listed and match that sense of a long-term investment. Some learning leaders in their companies are still very short-term focused, and it is, let's look at the PowerPoint pages that we use each year. Those that say, hey, we want to invest in a way that's meaningful and have something that's true over time, if they could tap those technologies, I think they will be able to help drive that. That's my best prediction. Can't do much more than that in terms of what the future will hold.
I would very much welcome anyone who wants to jump in and add any comments or anything like that. Open up your mic and then please speak up. Unless we have something on this topic, let's go to the next question.
Absolutely. And just to reiterate, you can just submit a question in the chat as well. If you really don't want to say it with your own voice, just submit it in the chat. So we have here, so Rebecca, okay, thank you. So
thank
absolutely.
you for the time. I apologize. I really appreciate the information though, and I look forward to looking more into it.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Okay.
Thanks, Rebecca. Take care. Bye-bye.
Since we have a small group, it might be, I'm sure the group here all has had some involvement in a lot of things that Kushal has listed, and still have those questions like what will the market accept in the future. I'd be really curious to hear how the group of you, since we're a small group, have engaged in this, and what challenges you've heard from the people who have the budget on whether or not you can push this forward or any of these aspects forward. Anyone want to share any perspectives of that?
Are you talking to me or?
No, I'm talking to the
No,
group.
talking to the
I'm-
group.
I'm-
To the group.
I'm encouraging. Yeah, this is one of the benefits of having a small group like this, is we could come on
Yeah.
screen and just have a conversation.
Okay, well, like I said, if anyone wants to jump in, that's fine. We'll just move on to the next question. Does interactive video require any special skills beyond what a typical in-house corporate training development team provides?
Mike, let me address this, and then I will hand over the mic to you. I want to quickly say that in a typical corporate learning team, there are 3 types of talent that I have experienced. Number 1 is the writer, the technical writer, who actually translates the content to the learner's level, whether it's a 6th grader or whether it's a safety video or it's an e-learning platform or very typically finance or legal. So that the technical writer can do that. That's his skill set. The second skill set is actually graphic designer, who are great at creating beautiful screenshots, beautiful color combination, a beautiful design. But they are really not equipped to handle all kinds of instructional design. But they sometimes are, but sometimes the instructional designer is actually the person who stitches all the content together in a storyline or Captivate or some kind of authoring software. Those are typically the 3 people, and the 4th person is actually the LMS administrator, usually a team or a person depending on the size. But those 3 talents does not really meet the nature of storytelling skill set that multi-option interactive storytelling needs, interactive videos need. Interactive videos really need to connect with you on a personal level, and it has to have some storytelling script. It's not just straight coming out of your policy manual and copy and paste from that some screenshots. But you really have to engage the learner in a way that a film does when you go to a theater. So that's the only skill set that I think is lacking in a normal corporate L&D team. But you can get tons of people to help you with that if you need some help from outside your company. Mike, please go ahead and add your thoughts.
Sure. And I will, Emiliano, I see you've put yourself on camera. Did you have something to add before I said anything?
Thank you, Mike. No, I didn't actually have anything right this minute, but I wanted to add that thank you, Kushal. I think you're really the whole your aspect, your emphasis on storytelling is important, because I think we, as human beings, we that's how we've learned to learn, and we learn from stories. And by the way, my background is in cognitive science, so that's how I started my career many years ago. And thank you for a shout out earlier, Kushal. Yes, my company develops AI powered tutors, and one of the things that we've done is trying to make it as simple as possible for people to train AI, so that they don't have to go through an expensive process of doing so. And so when you talk about micro learning, for me, it's a matter of how do we analyze knowledge, and how do we analyze the whole the idea of epistemology has been an important aspect of what I've been looking at over the last 30 years. And so we really basically so I've noticed over time that people have different ideas of what micro learning is or micro content is, but I break it down into the idea of a concept. So what is a concept? Concept is the basic building blocks of knowledge, and any concept can be broken down into some concepts, and that's really where it boils down to. So yeah, so I'd be happy to go into more detail in the future, but that is the essence. I think if you break it down into a simple concept, then that the concept is the basic building block of all knowledge, and as you build those concepts, you can build that skill set. I just came back from a conference in Montreal actually just a few days ago, and it was quite interesting to see the emphasis there on Seymour Papert and a lot of cognitive scientists as well. Yeah, that's what I had to say.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll finish up the question just from what skills might a learning and development team or individual need. I was going to mention design more broadly than what Kushal mentioned, because design is about the experience. Design is being very mindful of what you want your users to go through, what kind of experience, what kind of tone, what kind of language you're using. So there's certainly the visual design, which is part of that, but they're instructional designers, there's the design that's part of it. I will say three others just kind of to help you all think about things. And this is more for all of you as learning leaders. One is being scientists, right? The brain science that Kushal shared, you should be the chief brain experts in your organization. You should be the ones to talk about how brains work, and you should be the ones to make the case with your leaders who have the budget about how people learn. So if your leaders are investing in just short-term things and they're calling it training, you can be the advocates for the way that the brain is working. And science also means that you should be encouraging experimentation. That means you're making small investments, you're piloting, and you're gathering results to see how do those small investments work. And if they really do work against the learning objectives, you can do more of that. You have to make sure that your organization is ready to be experimental to find out what works within your organization. I'd add a second dimension, which is logic, the decision trees that Kushal talked about. When you're making these choose your own adventure paths, you are thinking very carefully, are we going here or are we going here? And that's the bulk of the work. And so there's a logical testing. In the consulting world, they call it MISI. Is it mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive? We've got a place for everything, and everything has a natural spot to go. You have to employ those skills, being logical. And so if you add those together, those are all really good skills that a learning leader should have in this world.
Excellent.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks, Emiliano, as well, for giving your perspective. Let's go on to the third question. So, does interactive video require any special learning management system to handle the branching for learner performance measurement? Very good question. Kushal?
Yeah, I would say that, as I mentioned in my presentation, the analytics, which is typically a part of the learning management system, is really exploding with its capability, and new tools, new LMSs coming in the market that can really capture unbelievable amount of details. But I also want to make a remark that learning is not about tons and tons of data. Learning is about what's relevant to the learning objectives of the learner. How is he meeting the learning objectives? Is that data going to help the management look at his deficiencies, his performance, his strengths and weaknesses? So I want to caution that only because we can really collect tons and tons of data doesn't mean that we have to collect them. But this is something that I have noticed with a lot of other learning management systems that I've seen coming into the market. They boast about the volume of data that they can collect. But it is not about the volume, I feel. I feel that the data collection has to be completely in sync with his job that he's going to be doing. Is it about safety? It's about operation. It's about financing, compliance requirement. So we have to tune in the LMS to the learning requirements that the module is actually offering. So in that way, if anything, today's learning management system are being very quickly outdated, just like our cell phones are, with new capabilities, new cameras and new features. But then we don't have to go ahead and buy the next latest generation of iPhone if you're not using all of those things together. So LMS is the same way. And I think although lots of people are coming up with new mousetraps to sell their systems, but we have to be very careful in choosing something that really can measure the performance of the learner based on the business that they're going to be doing therein. That's what I would have to say.
And I would add, just for all of you as learning leaders, making sure you get one that delivers great metrics. If you get a champion who's going to agree with what you're saying and invest in the right LMS system, they're going to want to see the successes. So a good program can show you, look at the courses people took, look at how they're engaging, how much time they're spending on this. Those measures are going to be important for business and future business decisions. So make sure that it delivers those great metrics based on what you need to measure for success.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Kushal and Mike. I'll just go on to the next question. Can you compare virtual reality and augmented reality immersive learning with interactive video?
My response to that would be that it's two different types of immersions. In a VR, again, a VR and AR are two different technologies, as you know. In a VR, there is such a thing called a metaverse. Once you put the goggles on, you are in another environment, completely different reality. You're working with avatars, you're working with simulated scenarios, you're in a completely different universe. So that immersiveness is valuable from some learning perspective, but not all learning perspective. And also VR is a much more, as of now, it's a much more expensive alternative, but definitely it has its own application, especially talking about surgery for doctors in a medical field. When they get their goggles on, they actually see the kidney that they're going to be replacing. They actually see the child birth, looking at, with his goggles, he's actually looking at all the monitoring that the mother's childbirth experiences is producing, the blood pressure, the et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a very real-time scenario. VR is absolutely appropriate for that. No amount of video can give him that kind of exact an atmosphere that resembles the reality. But that's a lot more expensive. And if you have a large audience of doctors and nurses and healthcare professionals that taking that course, the cost is well worth it. But for a small and average size company that are trying to assemble a machine, for example, at the fastest possible pace, a VR, AR may be too expensive for them to be able to afford for the L&D budget. For their interactive video is a better choice. And interactive video can also be very immersive, as I explained to you a little while. There are two different types of immersion. The interactive video immersion is in the story, in the storytelling. Actually, you create a reality through a story in which the learner is completely immersed in that story and reacting to the hooks within the story. But VR is a completely physical image and environment that you're actually witnessing through your glasses. And AR is the same way. Your vision is augmented by many different videos and manuals and texts and job aids that you can overlay on your real engine or real reality in front of you. So those are two different immersions, but again, it all depends on the application that you're putting this learning for. So I would say that it depends on the application, for how much of immersiveness that the application calls for is when you choose VR, AR, or interactive video.
Yeah.
Mike, you want to add something?
Yeah, as we talk about it, if you're making decisions from a budget standpoint, it might be a decision of breadth versus depth. Kushal and I worked on a program for a client which was intended for managers, where there are many different skills a manager might need to learn. And so the idea was to construct the different pieces on that path of choose your own adventure, much more video-based learning, and have the videos ready for each one that they might choose, depending which was important. The depth might be the surgery or the mechanics, fixing a specific machine that Kushal mentioned. We need to know how to do a very specific thing, and we want to be fully immersed in it. And so you can invest in the background, the sound, the experience, the technology of everything that that person would need to be able to do that. Plus, it's very robust, but it's within a very specific window of the types of things that they're doing.
Fantastic. Well, we're just running out of time here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have to end the webinar, guys, so that you can all get back to whatever it is that you need to do. I'm sure you're all very busy. First off, just a reminder, we will be sending the deck in PDF form that Kushal presented. At the end of the deck, there will be a link to the special offer here, which will take you to a Google form that you can fill out and get your free consulting session to help plan for 2023. So that's it. I want to thank, first of all, well, I'll go by the name. So Saraj, Harsh, Emiliano, and Amy, thanks for staying until the end. I really appreciate it. And then I'd like to thank Mike again for being a panelist for the second time round. I'd like to thank Chris for doing all of the back-end help that he always does. And of course, I'd like to thank Kushal again for another really detailed and very academic presentation on learning. Kushal, any last words?
My only last word is that I really mean it when I say that let us help you plan for the future. There's a lot going on in the learning industry today, dictated by strange economic forecasts. I say strange because we don't know. We have unbelievable technology that is enabling us to do more and more and more. So you really need to do a careful planning of what are you going to embrace, what are you going to propose to your management, how are you going to draw a budget, who's going to be involved. So this takes a careful evaluation of your existing business, existing clients, existing workforce. So we may be able to offer some kind of advice that we actually get paid for as consultants by large companies. But I wanted to make that offer to you to give you some thoughts to really work on to create that strategy document. I really think that you should, most of the L&D leaders should create a document to really present to the management to get the right budget in place and the right structure and the modalities in place. And we can help you with that if you need to. Thank you again for coming. And Harsh, did you have any parting words? Because I don't know if you have any learning and development background, but you have stayed pretty late at night from India. I'm hoping that you got something out of this.
Yeah, that was really great to know virtual reality and interactive videos a lot. I see that you're doing. Yeah, I have had small stint with one of the learning company too. Yeah, I would like to talk about that with you sometime later.
All right. Saroj, you still up? Or are you sleeping?
Oh, I'm up
Okay.
listening to you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I
it's
hope
quite good. Sure.
it's pretty late. So
No, it's
thanks
okay.
for staying up this late. Emiliano, I really would like you to have the microphone in one of our future sessions, that you and I work on it to create a webinar based on artificial intelligence. And you
It will be
saw,
my pleasure.
you saw the kind of information that I put together for the learning leaders who are interested to know how this technology or this method can help us, help our company. That's what they're interested in know. They're not interested to know about research, how it affects them. So if you and I can put our heads together to create a presentation on artificial intelligence and learning, corporate learning, not any learning, not kids learning, school learning, college learning, academic learning. It's about how this learning can help their business. I'm all for it. So let's talk about that, put our heads together.
It would be my pleasure. We could do that over the next few days, if you like.
Okay. Thank you again. It's exactly 4 o'clock our time. So
Absolutely.
thanks again. Thank you,
All
Chris.
right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Kushal.